There was a lot of panic at the zoo as the new white tiger had been extremely sick for more than a few days. The vet had already examined the tiger several times, but was only able to determine the cause when one of the zookeepers who worked closely with the tiger made a crazy suggestion. The vet checked it out immediately and then came with the big news. This brought many zookeepers to tears. Marcus had been absolutely right all along. It was amazing. Tears streamed down his face. The poor animal. She had had to endure this for far too long. As the commotion settled, Marcus recounted how he had noticed a peculiar pattern in the tiger's behavior, particularly in her feeding habits and interactions with other tigers. This observation led him to suspect a rare condition that the vet hadn't initially considered. With further examination, it was revealed that the tiger was suffering from a severe allergic reaction to a specific type of food she had been fed. Despite the grim prognosis, there was still hope for the tiger's recovery with a change in diet and intensive medical treatment. Marcus's keen intuition not only saved the tiger's life, but also fostered a deeper sense of trust and collaboration among the zoo staff. But what did Marcus and the vet find out? What was wrong with the animal? And could they still help the poor tiger? It was big news when the zoo announced that it had acquired a rare white tiger for its zoo. Since it wasn't an animal that people could see anywhere, the zoo assumed that it would attract people from all over the country with this amazing addition to its animal family. But unfortunately, things didn't go as planned for the white tiger. But at the moment, the zoo considers itself very lucky that it was able to buy the animal. They had received an unexpected call from a zoo in India that was closing and was putting its animals up for sale. And among these animals was the white tiger. The animal cost a pretty penny, but they were very willing to spend it. It seemed like a great investment. The zoo had spared no expense to create the best possible habitat for the animal. They wanted to avoid activists claiming that they shouldn't have this animal or that it should remain in the wild. But the tiger would make this all much more difficult than expected. From the moment the animal arrived at the zoo, the zookeepers in charge of the work felt that something was wrong with the animal. It barely moved around and mostly slept in its new habitat. They couldn't understand why the animal didn't explore first. A tiger should always want to know its terrain. Upon closer observation, they noticed subtle signs of distress in the tiger's behavior, such as a lack of appetite and avoidance of certain areas in the enclosure. Concerned, they consulted with the vet, who conducted a series of tests to determine the underlying cause of the tiger's unusual behavior. To their surprise, it was discovered that the tiger had previously been subjected to mistreatment in captivity before arriving at the zoo, leaving her emotionally scarred and wary of her surroundings. This revelation shed light on the tiger's reluctance to explore her new habitat and highlighted the importance of understanding an animal's history in ensuring their well-being in captivity. They assumed that the animal might have caught a virus or something similar from the trip and tried to treat it with standard medication. But to her disappointment, this didn't seem to work so well. The animal only seemed to get worse over the next few weeks. Without a clear diagnosis, the zoo couldn't do much. They had contacted several experts to examine the animal, but none of them seemed able to find a conclusive answer. In addition, in their eyes, it was far too risky to pump the animal full of heavy medication. The zoo began to become very desperate, and then, almost out of nowhere, the tiger did something that neither of them expected. One morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, the tiger slowly rose from her slumber and began to explore her enclosure with newfound curiosity. She sniffed at the foliage, stretched her limbs, and even emitted a faint rumble, signaling a resurgence of her natural instincts. The zookeepers watched in awe as the once listless animal transformed before their eyes, her movements becoming more agile and purposeful with each passing moment. It was as if a switch had been flipped, awakening a dormant vitality within her. This unexpected turn of events filled the zoo staff with renewed hope and determination to help the tiger regain her health and vitality. It was apparently the first time the tiger had a burst of energy. she started running as fast as she could towards the edge of the water. The zookeeper, who was keeping an eye on her at the time, Marcus, assumed that maybe she was really thirsty or something, which would admittedly be a bit strange since she had just drunk a lot of water just before. However, instead of drinking the water at the habitat's pond, the white tiger would actually do the opposite. It started spitting out all the water it had just drunk. Marcus had never seen anything like this before, and it worried him greatly. When the tigress could no longer take in fluids, they found themselves in a serious race against the clock to save her. So far, no zookeeper or veterinarian has been able to get close to the tiger to really examine the animal thoroughly. She was very aggressive towards anyone who came into her private space and had to be fully sedated for this to happen. And of course, that would also involve risks. It was a last resort, but one they might soon have to resort to. But Marcus actually had a slightly different idea. It wasn't a good idea by any means, but he wanted to go through with it anyway. He wanted to try to bond with the sick white tigress and quickly went into her cage. It was still early in the morning, so there were no other keepers or visitors around to stop him. With cautious steps, Marcus approached the wary tiger, his heart pounding in his chest. He spoke softly, his voice a gentle melody in the quiet of the enclosure, as he extended his hand in a gesture of goodwill. To his surprise, the tiger didn't lash out or retreat. Instead, she regarded him with wary curiosity, her amber eyes betraying a hint of vulnerability beneath their steely gaze. Encouraged by her response, Marcus continued to inch closer, mindful of maintaining a respectful distance. The white tiger tested near the water's edge, and Marcus approached the animal slowly and carefully. It was clear that she was dead tired from the ordeal she had just been through, as she only noticed Marcus when he got really close to her. She turned her head slowly, and for a few seconds, their eyes met, and nothing happened. Marcus stood at the edge of the enclosure, a respectful guardian of the majestic creature before him. Day by day, he moved closer and carefully watched the white tiger's every move. He documented her habits, the twitch of an ear, the swish of her tail, the depth of her gaze. His presence was a silent whisper in the vast language of the enclosure, becoming as much a part of their world as the rocks and the shifting ground. In those early morning hours, when the fog hung over the water and the world was still, he was a constant, unthreatening figure. Each day a step closer, each day a moment longer. He bridged the gap between man and beast with patience as his guide. The distance between them narrowed with each passing day. Marcus's movements were deliberate, his body language open and yielding. He radiated calm, his hands never made sudden movements, his steps were never too hasty. As she lay sprawled in the sun, he sat down too, mirroring her resting position. As she paced, he would stand quietly and unobtrusively, calmly observing her quiet strength. His position in her world was comparable to the trees and the breeze, present but unobtrusive, there but not imposing. In this shared space, trust was not taken away but tenderly offered, a gift earned over time and through consistency. Their bond deepened as Marcus continued to respect the tiger's boundaries and honor her autonomy. He understood that their relationship was built on mutual respect and understanding, and he approached each interaction with reverence and humility. With each passing day, their connection grew stronger, transcending the confines of their enclosure to touch the hearts of all who witnessed it. Marcus's unwavering commitment to the tiger's well-being served as a testament to the transformative power of compassion and patience. Marcus knew the power of voice, the tone, the pitch, the rhythm, and used his voice to calm the big cat's wary heart. He spoke quietly in a whisper, his words less important than the gentle rhythm they carried. "You're safe," he murmured, not knowing if she understood, but believing in the universal language of comfort. He recited poems and old stories, his quiet voice wafting through the bars of the enclosure like a calming breeze. This verbal dance became their routine, a symphony of gentle sounds set against the backdrop of an alert zoo. It was a language of patience, and with each passing day she forged a stronger bond between them. Their interactions were not just observed by Marcus and the tiger, they drew the attention of zoo staff and visitors alike, who marveled at the serene atmosphere that enveloped the enclosure whenever Marcus was near. His voice, once a tool for practical communication, had evolved into a conduit for emotional connection, bridging the gap between species with its soothing cadence and unwavering kindness. Their unique relationship served as a poignant reminder of the power of empathy and understanding in fostering harmony between humans and the natural world. Through Marcus's gentle words and the tiger's receptive nature, they demonstrated that even in captivity, the wild spirit could find solace and companionship in the most unexpected of places. As the first rays of sunlight bathed the enclosure in golden hues, Marcus presented the first meal of the day. The scent of raw meat hung heavy between them, an unspoken pact spread out on a simple metal bowl. He set it down, then retreated to his usual spot and waited. The white tiger approached the offering curiously and cautiously. With each meal, he moved the bowl a little closer to where he was sitting, shrinking the invisible barrier between them. It was a dance of trust, performed at a leisurely pace, each step calculated, each pause filled with quiet understanding. Food was his olive branch, food coupled with the burgeoning trust in her amber eyes. Their ritual caught the attention of zoo visitors, who gathered in Hushid Awe to witness the remarkable bond between man and beast. Marcus's patience and dedication became a source of inspiration for many, reminding them of the profound connections that can be forged through kindness and understanding. As the days passed, the tiger's apprehension melted away, replaced by a growing sense of familiarity and comfort in Marcus's presence. Their shared meals became a symbol of their evolving relationship, a testament to the transformative power of patience and compassion in bridging the gap between species. Their bond became a beacon of hope for the zoo staff and visitors alike, proof that even the most unlikely friendships can flourish in the unlikeliest of places. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest, a quiet drumbeat of anticipation. Today, the tiger approached him differently than before, less cautiously, more confidently. She moved in her realm with the grace of a queen, but her steps towards him held a new promise. As she approached, he remained silent, an anchored presence in her fluid world. Then, to his quiet joy, she lay down just a few meters away, a clear sign that he accepted his closeness. In that moment, as he calmly watched her breathing and the gentle rise and fall of her chest, a bond was formed, fragile as a spider's silk, but undeniable. Their shared silence spoke volumes, a first step into a world of unspoken trust and growing camaraderie. As the days turned into weeks, Marcus watched the white tiger with an ever-watchful eye. Subtle changes in her behavior began to form a pattern that participated in his experience. She moved less, her appetite decreased, and she huddled in the corner of her enclosure in an almost protective posture. These signs whispered hints of a deeper change and hinted at a mystery that went beyond mere illness. In the silence of his own mind, Marcus entertained a theory that grew stronger with each passing day. He remembered stories from old guardians and books he had read in the dim light of the research room. The symptoms matched, painting a picture that was both hopeful and discouraging. However, since there was no concrete evidence, he remained silent. It would be premature to voice his suspicions without evidence, so he decided to wait, watch, and hope that his intuition would lead him to the truth. Dr. Lena jumped into the fray with a clipboard in hand and a skeptical look. It exuded the aura of science and the scent of a world outside the prison bars. She listened to Marcus's notes and observations, her eyebrows furrowing at every unconventional detail he shared. The methods Marcus used were foreign to her training, and she kept her judgment secret like a card player about to be revealed. The white tiger, for his part, regarded the newcomer with a silent, searching gaze, as if he sensed the doubt that hung in the air. With every day that Dr. Wildlina was in the white tiger's enclosure, she began to notice the palpable bond that Marcus had fostered. She watched their silent exchange, the respectful distance Marcus kept, and the patient way he communicated with the creature. A revelation dawned on her, that perhaps science needed to be supplemented by something more intangible. The show of trust so evident in the tiger's relaxed tension around Marcus became a lesson in humility and learning to trust not just the process, but the people in it. The silence of the morning was broken by a sudden throaty growl from the white tiger. Marcus was surprised and stood frozen as the tiger's muscles tensed and her eyes narrowed into slits of concentrated aggression. It was a primal display, a reminder of the wildness that no enclosure could fully contain. The sound echoed off the walls, a stark contrast to the months of quiet togetherness. Marcus knew this was a critical time. The bond they had built was being tested. The trust they had built now hung in a delicate balance. In the tense moments that followed, Marcus's calm demeanor became a beacon of calm in the tiger's storm of excitement. Dr. Lina watched with hitched breath as the tiger's focus shifted, from anger to the familiar voice that had become a source of comfort. Slowly, the rigid lines of her body softened. The growl turned into a low murmur and finally into silence. Marcus had reached her, not with force, but with the steady hand of understanding. Dr. Lina's eyes widened in amazement as she witnessed the scene. It was a quiet conversation conducted in a language she hadn't been taught in veterinary school, a dialogue of trust and mutual respect. She saw the white tiger's gaze meet Marcus's, and an unspoken agreement formed between them. The realization that Marcus's methods were not only effective but vital began to take hold in her mind. It was a single word from Marcus, gentle but firm, that finally broke the tension. "Peace," he whispered, and it resonated like magic in the room. The white tigress exhaled deeply as if released from a spell, her body language shifting from confrontation to a state of reprieve. Both Dr. Lina and the tiger were now completely fascinated by Marcus's control of the situation. His whispered words had not only calmed the beast, but also strengthened Lina's young confidence in his actions. The encounter with Dr. Lina left an unforgettable mark on the scene. She turned to Marcus, her eyes shimmering with newfound respect. "I see it now," she admitted, her words carrying a blend of humility and genuine awe. The tiger's once erratic and unpredictable behavior had only been soothed by Marcus's calming presence and reassuring voice. Dr. Lina began to embrace Marcus's insights, recognizing the profound connection he shared with the tiger. As they spent more time observing the animal together, Marcus shared intimate stories of their interactions, painting a vivid picture of their extraordinary bond. With each anecdote, Dr. Lina gained a deeper understanding of the tiger's complex personality and needs. She marveled at Marcus's ability to communicate with the animal on an intuitive level, realizing that their partnership was pivotal to unraveling the mystery of the tiger's illness. This revelation marked a turning point in their collaboration, as science and empathy merged to form a potent force for healing. Together, they crafted a comprehensive treatment plan that addressed both the tiger's physical ailments and emotional well-being. Their collective efforts breathed new life into the zoo, igniting a renewed sense of purpose and compassion among the staff. As they worked tirelessly to restore the tiger to health, they forged a bond that transcended the boundaries between human and beast, proving that sometimes the most powerful medicine is love. With the burden of their decision, Marcus and Dr. Lina prepares to cross the threshold to the tiger's sanctuary. The air was full of anticipation as they passed through the gate with measured movements and clear intentions. Together they entered their world, a place where the boundaries between wild creature and human caretaker are blurred. They exchanged an understanding look. This was the path they had chosen, fraught with danger, but necessary for the trust they sought to honor. The unity of their goal united Marcus and Dr. Lena said as they approached the sleeping giant. Led by Marcus, whose familiar presence was a comfort, they moved closer to the tiger. The beast's breathing was deep and steady, its chest rising and falling with a rhythmic grace that belied the danger of its proximity. Dr. Lena's hand shook, not from fear, but from the gravity of the moment, and her resolve was strengthened by Marcus's unwavering confidence. Marcus and Doctor worked under the tiger's heavy breathing. Lena administers the sedative with practiced precision. The air hung still except for the click of the syringe and the soft murmur of Marcus's voice, guiding the tiger into a peaceful sleep. Their actions were a dance of necessity and compassion, each step a testament to the delicate balance they sought to maintain. It was a moment between the needs of the living and the demands of care, where every breath was a measure of her resolve. As the sedative took effect, the world seemed to stop. The white tiger lay calm, his wild spirit tempered by a chemically induced peace. This was the moment of truth, the investigation that could reveal the mystery of her illness. Dr. Lena's hands were steady as she began her work, each of her movements calculated and gentle. Marcus, ever the vigilant guardian, watched over the doctor and the tiger, his presence a quiet reassurance in the silence of the cave. In the silence that followed the storm of activity, Marcus's role changed from partner to protector. Although his hands were steady, they gently touched the tiger's fur, giving him comfort, even in her unconscious state. He was the bridge between the wild heart of the animal and the healing hands of science. While Dr. Lena focused on her task, it was Marcus who maintained the connection. His touch reminded her of the trust they had all placed in one another. It was more than a duty. It was a sacred task that he held in the palm of his hand. There was silence in the enclosure, a respectful silence as Dr. Lena began her careful examination of the white tiger. With every movement of her hands, she dug beneath the tiger's majestic exterior, searching for the hidden illnesses that lurked beneath. Marcus stood by, his eyes following their every movement, realizing that beneath the beauty of their stripes could lie the answers they desperately sought. The investigation was a tapestry of science and empathy, each finding its place in the silence of the study. The silence in the cage was broken by the quiet, precise sounds of medical instruments as Dr. Lena took blood samples. Marcus provided silent support, his presence calming as the vials filled with the hope of undiscovered truths. Each sample was a vessel full of potential, holding the secrets that could solve the mystery of the tiger's condition. In the careful collection of these purple threads, they tied their hopes for their recovery. Marcus's role became that of an assistant, while Dr. Lena prepared the ultrasound machines. Together they moved in a calm rhythm, keeping the tiger comfortable as they gently probed for a glimpse inside him. As the machine hummed to life, the screen flickered, revealing the shadowy contours of the tiger's interior. They both watched with bated breath as the ultrasound probe slid over them, casting a revealing light into the once opaque depths of their being. The room was silent except for the rhythmic sound of the ultrasound machine. As the probe moved, a different pattern appeared on the screen. A rhythmic pulsation, an echo, different from the tiger's own heartbeat. It was a subtle sign, but to the trained eye it spoke volumes. Dr. Lena's hand stopped and she exchanged a knowing look with Marcus. The faint echo was a whisper of something more, a hint of some significant discovery they were not ready to voice. The truth of what the ultrasound revealed was clearly on the screen, an undeniable confirmation of her silent suspicions. But in the seriousness of the moment, Marcus and Dr. Lena decided to remain silent together. It was a secret too delicate to reveal hastily, a realization that required the right moment for revelation. Their eyes met, and in that look, an unspoken agreement was forged. They would wait and see for themselves the veracity of their discovery before sharing it with the world. For now, it was up to them alone to ponder the hidden truth. In the silence after the examination, Marcus and Dr. Lena returned to the privacy of the office in a quiet voice as they discussed the implications of what they had seen. The ultrasound images were more than just shadows. They were keys to a locked door of understanding. With careful consideration, they considered every possible outcome, knowing that their newfound knowledge brought with it great responsibility. They stood on the precipice of discovery, holding the key not only to a diagnosis, but also to a story that would soon unfold. In the tiger's motionless form, the evidence of life was undeniable, a mystery so profound that it vibrated through the very air of the room. But amidst the silent acknowledgement of what they had seen, Marcus and Dr. Lena agrees to a temporary silence. They needed absolute certainty before they could reveal the truth. The evidence they had was compelling, but they were looking for irrefutable evidence to remove any possible doubt. It was a truth too important to leave to chance. The bond between Marcus and Dr. Lena grew stronger as they grappled with the complexities of their vow of secrecy. Together they cared for the tiger, their interactions marked by an unspoken understanding. Every glance they shared was an affirmation of their commitment to the tiger's well-being and to preserving its sensitive secret. As they worked, they were acutely aware of the balance they had to maintain and guarded the truth until the time was ripe for its revelation. Curiosity spread through the ranks of zoo staff as the tiger's health gradually improved. Whispers filled the spaces between the cages and corridors, speculating about the sudden change in her condition. But despite the rising tide of questions, the full story remained hidden, and only Marcus and Dr. Lena known. They watched and waited, a silent pact between them as the mystery of the white tiger's illness grew around them, like a legend in the making. Time passed, each day a mixture of hope and tension, while Marcus and Dr. Lena waited for the final results that would support her secret findings. In the meantime, they continued their vigil and maintained some semblance of routine care. With each test and each scan, they came closer to the moment of certainty they both craved and feared. It was a waiting game against the backdrop of a zoo of anticipation, the secret of which was a fragile flame fueled by cautious optimism. Marcus and Dr. Lena stood in front of the zoo management committee, her theory hanging between them like a delicate spider's web. Without presenting the concrete evidence of the ultrasound results, her words seemed to evaporate into thin air and were met with furrowed brows and skeptical looks. Management's questions seemed like stones thrown against their beliefs, questioning the basis of their claims. They left the meeting knowing that their theory was not grounded in the certainty the government needed. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure within the zoo grew like a summer storm. Marcus felt the weight of waiting weighing on him. Each sunrise and sunset a sign that time was passing, without the need for final proof. His comrades' doubt, once a murmur, grew louder and threatened to drown out the truth he represented. It was a test of endurance, a test in which time itself was both judge and opponent. In the inner sanctum of the tiger enclosure, Marcus and Dr. Lena her refuge. They became silent defenders of their unproven theory, their faith a beacon shining through the fog of doubt. Together they cared for the tiger. Every careful movement and every shared look testified to their unwavering attitude. They drew strength from each other and the majestic creatures they were sworn to protect, and found comfort in their shared vigil. Marcus faced the government as the lone champion in a barrage of demands for irrefutable evidence. As he stood in the middle of the boardroom, the pressure to give in was immense, but his belief in his theory was unyielding. He argued with a passion driven not only by his observations, but also by a deep conviction that what he was proposing was the truth. To every question asked, he answered with the certainty that only one who had truly bonded with the creature could possess it. Before the skeptical eyes of his colleagues, Marcus laid out the behavioral patterns that had become the foundation of his theory. He described in detail the tiger's actions, the nuances that no one else had seen, and the behavioral changes that had no place in the usual illness narrative. With each piece of the puzzle he presented, the picture he was constructing became clearer, and the demand for transparency grew into a chorus awaiting the finale of the evidence. News of the tiger's plight and the zoo's predicament had filtered into the community, creating a cloud of concern and curiosity. The press, always looking for a story, circled the zoo with questions and cameras, capturing the tension that now reigned over the animal enclosure. The eyes of the audience watched, waited, and the zoo turned into an amphitheater in which the drama of nature's unpredictability was performed. The zoo's corridors echoed with whispers of doubt about Marcus's unorthodox methods. But in the privacy of the enclosure, his resolve remained undiminished, like a beacon against the storm. He maintained the belief that the upcoming test results would be the beacon that would guide them out of uncertainty. Every morning he awoke to a day of waiting, his resolve strengthened and ready to face whatever the flood would bring. The tension was palpable as Marcus and Dr. Lena was on the verge of a revelation that threatened to erupt and change the narrative that had been built around the tiger's illness. The government's patience was wearing thin, and its demands for closure became more urgent. But the two keepers of the tiger's secret remained steadfast, aware that the revelation they held would soon come to light, a truth ready to spread through the fabric of the zoo's reality. The air in the lab was filled with anticipation as the final test results flickered on the screen. Marcus and Dr. Lena leaned forward, her eyes searching for definitive proof of the tiger's condition. The pregnancy was confirmed, a triumph that resonated deep within Marcus's soul and confirmed his instincts and observations. It was a moment of profound affirmation, the solution to the mystery that had troubled her so much. Marcus felt a rush of vindication as all the pieces of his carefully constructed theory fell into place. News of the tiger's pregnancy sparked a flood of ethical considerations within the zoo's walls. Debates arose about the best course of action, with the responsibility of care now becoming greater. Questions have been raised about habitat change, medical care, and even the long-term future of the cubs. The zoo found itself in a complex moral dilemma, with the welfare of the tiger and the welfare of the unborn cubs at the center of the conversation. Marcus found himself at the center of this storm, and his voice now had a weight that commanded the respect of all involved. When the news broke, the zoo became the focus of intense public attention. The narrative had to be carefully managed. The preservation of the zoo's reputation was at stake. Press releases were prepared with care, and each statement was assessed against the background of public opinion. Marcus, once a shadowy lawyer, was now part of the zoo's public persona, representing a story of dedication and hope. The zoo's commitment to caring for the tiger in these new circumstances was communicated with transparency and care to inspire community trust and support. Confirming the tiger's pregnancy elevated Marcus from caretaker to hero in the zoo's narrative. Colleagues who had once doubted him now shook his hand in congratulations, and the staff looked at him with new respect. His devotion to the white tiger and his intuition that led to his discovery was a story that resonated with everyone. Marcus had become a symbol of hope, his name synonymous with the victory of perseverance and compassion. In the pensive silence after the hectic activity, zoo staff gathered to recognize the success that resulted from Marcus's unconventional approach. It was an unlikely triumph that defied traditional methods and expectations. There was a sense of awe at how deeply Marcus had understood the tiger and how his intuition had led to a positive outcome against all odds. The zoo, once rife with skepticism, is now abuzz with debate about the virtues of empathy and innovation in animal care. It was a victory not only for Marcus, but also for the belief in a deeper connection between humans and the animals they are sworn to protect. When the first signs of labor began, There was a tense atmosphere and anticipation in the zoo. Marcus and Dr. Belina was a picture of concentration, her presence calming around the working tiger. The hours dragged on, each moment laden with the gravity of what was to come. And then, in the midst of the crescendo of work, life emerged. The boys' first cries were like signs of a new beginning, announcing a birth that was both a literal and symbolic beginning. The zoo, in the grip of worry for so long, breathed a collective breath of hope. This event was more than just the successful conclusion of months of careful preparation and sleepless nights. It symbolized a ray of hope in the ongoing efforts for conservation and understanding. It was a living reminder of the zoo's mission to not only entertain, but also educate and inspire stewardship of our planet's precious biodiversity. As news of the birth spread, community support and enthusiasm blossomed, sparking conversations about conservation and fostering a deeper connection between people and the majestic creatures with whom we share our world. The arrival of the cubs sparked joy that spread throughout the zoo and beyond the gates. Staff and visitors alike were excited, and the news spread like wildfire. Cameras flashed, capturing the first tender moments as the boys snuggled up to their mother. The congregation watched with bated breath, their faces lit up by the spotlight that now shone on the new family. It was a celebration beyond the ordinary, a shared victory that lifted the spirits of everyone involved in the story. A celebration of life indeed, as it brought together not only the people within the zoo, but also the larger community, drawing them into a narrative of growth, survival, and unity. Back then, the zoo was more than just a place of confinement. It transformed into a refuge for life's potential, a beacon of joy in a world that too often forgets the simple wonders that shape our existence. The zoo erupted in spontaneous celebration, the hallways filled with the sound of cheering voices. Marcus and Dr. Lena was overwhelmed by the joy of the staff, and her hard work culminated in this moment of unbridled life. The successful birth was not only a victory for the zoo, but also a testament to the commitment of its caretakers. Tributes poured in, praising the perseverance and care that accompanied the tigress on her journey to motherhood. It was a celebration that reflected the essence of life itself, a reminder of the delicate balance of nature and the role humans play in its preservation. This event transcended everyday routines and became a beacon of hope and a symbol of the resilience and beauty of nature. It reminded everyone involved, and those who heard the story later, of the joy and wonder that life in all its forms brings to our existence, and urged us all to treasure and protect it for generations to come. In the days following the birth, Marcus and Dr. Lena is praised not only as a zoo employee, but also as an advocate for a future in which humans and animals have a deeper connection. Her commitment to the welfare of the tiger and its cubs became a beacon for conservationists and animal lovers alike. They were recognized not only for their role in the boys' arrival, but also for their vision of care that went beyond the present. This broader recognition went beyond awards and recognition. It was a clear call to action for individuals and communities to reevaluate their relationship with the natural world. The story of Marcus, Dr. Lena, and the tiger cubs was a poignant reminder of the interconnectedness of life and the responsibility humans have to protect it. It underscored the belief that harmonious coexistence between humans and animals through understanding, compassion, and cooperation is not just a lofty ideal, but an achievable reality. The zoo, once a place of spectacle, had transformed into a sanctuary of learning and encounter. Visitors came in droves, each eager to witness the new chapter that had begun with the white tiger and his cubs. The story of Marcus's bond with the tiger, Dr. Lena's expertise, and the birth of the boys had become a tale of hope. It was a story that spoke of the power of trust and the strength of unity, a narrative that would guide the zoo's path forward. The white tiger and his offspring, once symbols of uncertainty, now stood as emblems of perseverance and the enduring bonds that form when people heed the silent language of the wild. As the news of the tiger's recovery spread, it drew attention not just locally, but nationally and even internationally. People from all walks of life were inspired by the resilience of the tiger and the dedication of those who cared for her. This newfound spotlight brought with it opportunities for collaboration and support, as experts and enthusiasts alike rallied behind the zoo's efforts to ensure the well-being of its inhabitants. Together, they embarked on a journey of conservation and education, using the tiger's story as a catalyst for change in how society views and interacts with wildlife.